Last season, the Oakland Raiders finished 4-12 in the first season in the return of John Gruden. Can they improve upon that record in year two? Last year, the Raiders, were 23rd on offense overall, 18th passing the ball, 25th running the ball. They were 26th in defense. So this offseason in the draft, they added Josh Jacobs. Oh, and also a wide receiver you may know very well named Antonio Brown. Probably one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. They also added Clelin Ferrell on defense in the draft, which I still believe was a questionable pick because Josh Allen, among others, were still available. Yet the Raiders chose Ferrell as their guy. Will it work out? Let's find out. Week 1, home game, Denver Broncos. I see the Raiders pulling this one off at home on Monday Night Football. They've owned the Broncos lately in Oakland, and I see it continuing here, week 1. So the Raiders will be 1-0. They'll give you a false sense of security. Week 2, they host the Kansas City Chiefs, and I wouldn't quite label them quite ready to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes comes into town and beats the Raiders, pulling them at 1-1. Raiders then have to go to Minneapolis, and while we saw the Bills beat the Vikings last year in this exact scenario in Minneapolis, I don't see the Raiders pulling off the same feat because they don't have nearly the same amount of great defense that the Bills did. The Vikings blow them away. Andrew Luck blows the Raiders away in week 4, pulling them to 1-3. The Raiders host, and I say host very leniently because the game is in London. The Raiders host the Bears in week 5, and I see the Bears blowing them away like the Seahawks did. So the Raiders will be 1-4 to start the year, heading into their bye week. They head into Lambeau Field, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers will find a way to win this one at home. So you see where this is going. I'm not really high on the Raiders this year because despite the additions of Antonio Brown, Trent Brown, and Clelin Ferrell, I don't see them doing anything just like they did last year. They're not a talent. Aside from those additions, they just don't have it. Week 8, they go into Houston and they fall to the Houston Texans, falling to 1-6. Week 9, see, this is where I have the Raiders kind of improving a little bit. Week 9, they finally get it together and they beat the Detroit Lions at home in front of the Black Hole. So they're going to be 2-6 by this point. Thursday Night Football, I have the Chargers winning this one, despite the Raiders giving them a hell of a game. Cincinnati Bengals coming to town, and they've won one game against the Raiders in the last 11 entries in Oakland. So the Raiders take this one. They'll be 3-7 by this point. Raiders head into the Meadowlands to take on the Jets. I have the Jets winning this one, pulling the Raiders to 3-8. Raiders go in the Arrowhead and get blown away by the Chiefs, falling to 3-9. Titans go into Oakland and they find a way to win, pulling the Raiders down to 3-10. So by this point, the Raiders have lost another 4 in a row. Things are looking sour in Oakland. This is probably their last season playing in Oakland. And as you know, they're going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. I honestly believe that they will be forced to be reckoned with once they move to Las Vegas. But I don't think they're there yet. So the Jacksonville Jaguars come into town. The Raiders somehow find a way to beat them, pulling them to 4-10. And then the Raiders end the year with losses to the Chargers and the Broncos to finish 4-12. Do you agree with my picks? Do you believe the Raiders are capable of doing better than 4-12? Do you believe the Raiders are capable of making the playoffs even? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, tell me what you think about the Raiders and how they're going to do this season. And thank you for watching the video.